I'm Rahana Power.
And today we have Mikayla Bode.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm decent.
Really?
Hey, you know what? Decent is a great starting point.
Yeah,
That's true. And it's honest, and we appreciate that here.
We love the energy.
Yeah,
right. And
absolutely.
Mikayla is an actress, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
I'm a jack of all trades, master of at least some of them.
Okay, lay them open that a little bit. What else? What else you got?
Well, I am also a screenwriter. I am a writer. I am a world builder. I'm a cosplayer, so I like to sew and create costumes and stuff like that. Oh God, I've forgotten literally everything I do ever as a creative.
It happens.
And yeah, I play a lot of like Dungeons and Dragons, so I'm very much into that whole aspect of like creating worlds and races and species and government types and all of these different characters. So yeah, I'd like to say jack of all trades, master of some of them.
Love it. So that kind of leads me to my first question for you, actually. Mikayla, before jumping into this, your acting and screenwriting and real like film lifestyle,
Yeah.
is there a fun, and it could even just be what you just said, like interesting talent or skill or something about you that others might, be super aware of, or maybe you've kept it secret up until now?
Yeah, actually, I love to create fantasy worlds.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually I work on a lot of different projects with a lot of my friends, and I like to create different magic types. You know how like Harry Potter, you have the spell casting and you have like the the swish and the flick of the wand.
Yeah.
I created my own type of magic where it involves more like blood magic and but botany and creating. I like to try to create really scary things, but like in a very almost elegant way. But yeah, that's something that I like to do, and I put it all into like notebooks and journals, and I like to tell people about it and stuff like that.
That's awesome. I love that. And that, I mean, really feeds into like your creating of worlds and dimensions and all of that. That's really cool.
I like to create how I like to describe it is I create the sandwich, and then I have other people help me fill it with the meat and the toppings and the sauces and the veggies and stuff like that.
Love that.
Nice. We'll have to have word speaks later here. So I guess let's go down the acting rabbit hole.
All right.
What got you started in acting? What was it?
I've been acting since I was a kid. Like I've been acting since as long as I could remember. And as I was kind of like growing up and being involved in school plays and choir and stuff like that, and people would tell me like, you have a natural like knack for this, you should do this professionally. And I was like, okay, yeah, maybe I should. And I did this like showcase in Los Angeles where I did a bunch of classes and stuff like that, and I had a lot of like industry professionals being like, you should pursue this. And yeah, at 17 when I graduated high school, that's when I started acting professionally, like in front of a camera and on stage and stuff like that. And it's been that way ever since. I'll be 3.5, almost 4 years acting like professionally this upcoming year. So yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Love that. And love the opportunity that you had like out in LA and being able to do that showcase and have that feedback too, because that can make a world of difference.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, what was that like?
It was different. I got to meet a lot of people like me that were, like going for the same thing and stuff like that. So we were able to kind of like build off of each other. But I also got to meet like industry professionals who have been doing this for God knows how long. And they were able to like teach me and give me feedback and like, this is what you'll expect if you go out to Los Angeles and stuff like that. And it was like the industry side, like the business side, but they also taught, the acting side. So it was a really nice balance. And I got to meet like really cool casting directors who taught me like, this is what casting directors are going to look for in an audition and stuff like that. It was really eye-opening because they didn't, sugarcoat it. They were like, yeah, this is what you're going to expect when you get here. And I really appreciated that. And it's something that I look forward to if and when I ever end up going out there for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm. Did you get to do that like towards the beginning of you're really working in this professionally? That's incredible.
Yes.
How did you find that opportunity?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Like, how did you get that opportunity? Like, how did that come about?
I honestly can't remember, but I was reached out to and they were like, hey, somebody recommended you to us and we want to like put you in these, like, we want to have you sign up for these classes and like have you be in this showcase. And I went there, I auditioned for this group and they were like, yo, you're really cool. Like we want to get you in these classes and get you out to the showcase in Los Angeles. And it kind of went from there. And it gave me a lot of resources to find stuff locally, not especially out in Los Angeles, but like what I really appreciated was that it gave me a lot of ways to find local stuff. Like I was able to find different acting websites for Minnesota so I could find stuff, which is actually how I found Alan. And it kind of just built from there. Because that's how I met him. Was I was a wee bab of 17 and I auditioned for him.
That's right.
And he called me for a callback, and he was like, let's keep in touch, and it kind of went from there.
That's awesome.
That's right.
Love that. Alan's a good guy to know, so it's a good connection. So what was your first like real film role then? And when did that take place?
My first like ever on screen like film role was probably I have to think back 3 years ago. I was not an extra in a way. I was an extra for a student film for DePaul University, and it was called The Blue Door. And it was this kind of like not sci-fi, but like futuristic kind of dystopian film where this guy walks through the blue door and he walks into his past. And I played one of the children, and we were all like these exhausted, worked down people. And we were all this kind of like odd hive mind. It was really fun. It was really cold though. It was super cold. It was raining. But yeah, that was in 2018. I actually went out to Chicago to audition for that student film. I had a couple auditions for like DePaul University and a couple others. And so I went out there. My mom and I hung out in Chicago on St. Patrick's Day, which if anybody has ever been to Chicago on St. Patrick's Day, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. But yeah, that was my first ever on screen film role. And then my first ever film role that had lines. I can't remember the name of the film, but it was essentially it was called Audition Day. And I played this like super goth. I played this super goth chick who just was being forced to go to this audition that she didn't want to go to. And that was more of a comedic role, because if you can see by everything about me, even though this is an audio recording for you guys, as you can see by like everything about me, I am not a goth person. Mm-hmm. So I was able to wear this like black lipstick, just super dark kohl eyeliner. And it was like the first like speaking lines role I ever had. And it was really fun because I also got to smash a prop bottle over my head.
Oh, wow.
It was so much fun.
Wow. Did you eat it too? Like
No, I didn't eat it. I had to look dead into the camera, and I was laughing so hard because I looked ridiculous. We had been on set for like 8 hours. Yeah. I had to look into the camera completely deadpan, and I had to smash the bottle over the side of my head because that scene was like, give us a special talent about you. And everybody was doing these like cool audition fun things where they would be like dancing or singing or I can do this talent. And then all my character does is just walk up, look dead into the camera, take the bottle, smash it over her head, and then walk off. But those prop bottles are super expensive. So I only had like 3 bottles. So
Oh.
I had exactly 3 takes to like get it perfect.
Mhm.
So they had me practice with me just smacking a water bottle on my head, and then finally I smacked the glass bottle over my head,
Mhm.
and that was a fun shoot. That was a really fun shoot.
That
Wow.
sounds fun.
What a role to be your first, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, it was God, I want to do another film like that because it was very much, it had the same energy as like The Office, where they had a camera crew like following you around and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And it would like, there would be a dialogue, and then it would cut to like a person who's kind of like looking into the camera like it's The Office, kind of breaking the fourth wall, and then it would
Yeah.
like show back. It was
Yeah.
a very fun comedic film. For I think it was like they were going to submit it to like a bunch of film festivals and stuff like
Mhm.
that.
What's it called?
I think it was called Audition Day.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And that one was here in Minnesota?
Yes.
That's awesome.
And it sounds like it was a student film, maybe?
Uh
Or-
yes. I think it was like kind of a mix of a student film plus independent film.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Well, within that, like, since your time acting and now other things, what role is most intriguing to you within like the film or whatever creative wise?
Initially in the beginning, I wanted to be in front of the camera. I enjoyed it. It's like that's all I wanted to do. But now, as I'm more behind the scenes, like world building and creating the story, I think the role that intrigues me the most is like the screen, like the script writer, but also like the producer or the choreographer in a way, because I like my type of genre that I like is the high fantasy, the sci-fi, the dystopian, utopian, all that stuff. And I like basically taking what I have locked up in my brain and putting it out into the world. So being more like behind the scenes, creating the story to have the actors like be the meat, be the veggies and the sauce and stuff like that.
Mhm. So have you had a film made out of a script that you've written so far, or are you still processing creating one of those worlds to get to that point?
So no, I have not had any films put onto this, like into the world yet. I'm still in the process of like building the world because I have a couple different ideas that I have in the works that I'm hopefully going to actually get into a cohesive like script so I can, start submitting it and stuff like that. So it's still the sandwich is still being built.
Yeah, I can imagine that's a really complex process, especially with that kind of like genre. Yeah, it takes a while, but that just makes it that much more special. So that's exciting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's see. So writing kind of came to you after you had started acting. I'm going to tweak what I was going to ask, but because you kind of answered that question just now. But is there anything else that you've maybe had your eye on, any other role as you've really started growing in your role in filmmaking process?
Maybe like a little more specific, like what type of role? So like, would I be more like would I be looking at like, oh, that'd be really cool to be like a mafia boss or a hired assassin, or like what type of role do you mean?
Oh, sorry. No, in like the filmmaking process. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the other one we will also get to.
Okay, cool. I think the one I'm currently kind of getting my eye on is more of like the wardrobe and the costume design. Because I'm a cosplayer, so I like create my own costumes and stuff like that. Some stuff I do buy. I'm not gonna play innocent and say that I make my own stuff because I'm not that cool yet. But I really enjoy creating wardrobe and stuff like that. So that's something I've also kind of like had my eye on in the filmmaking world.
Love that.
Yeah.
So Mikayla, who's your favorite actor? whether it's inspirational or if it's just you just really enjoy watching them, or actor or actress, I should say.
To me personally, actor is a gender neutral term.
I love that. Okay.
The only reason why actress was a thing was probably in the 30s when gender was a whole thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And speaking of that, it always makes me laugh because I'll talk to like people my age, and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I'm an actor," and then they're like, "Oh cool, that's awesome," and then I'll talk to like people in their like 50s and 60s, and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I'm an actor," and they'll go, "Don't you mean actress?" And I was like,
"Yep."
And like for me as a gender non-conforming person, I'm like, I kind of look at it and I'll go, no, I'm an actor.
That's great.
The only reason why why you have to add the actress in the end is because of something that's been instilled since God for knows how long. It's like, no, I'm a performer. I'm an actor.
Right.
Yeah.
But my favorite actor, I'd have to. It's kind of a toss up between like Tom Hiddleston and Keanu Reeves. Not only because they're incredible at what they do, they're so versatile, and they really are passionate about their craft. Also, just like off screen, they're some of like the nicest people in the world.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that because you hear about all of these actors who are just, and excuse my language, you hear about these actors who are just like raging dicks and they're just complete jerks. But like Keanu Reeves and Tom Hiddleston and many others, but these two are the ones that stick out to me the most, is that they're super nice. Like they don't allow the fame to get to their heads because they still know that they're people at the end of the day. And that is what I believe that actors and performers should be. Is that, yes, you may have this fame, you may have this like credit, but you're still a person. You're not a god.
Yes.
And yeah, they're just really nice. I've heard like, you never hear a bad thing when it comes to like Keanu Reeves, Tom Hiddleston. You never hear about those things. You just hear nothing but great things about these guys.
Yeah. Incredible people, just like humans. Absolutely.
Right.
And I didn't mean to label you as an actress earlier.
100%. That is okay. That is 100% okay. And that's a really fun conversation that I think should happen in the acting world, is that you can label whatever you want. It's kind of up to us as actors to, if you want to be labeled that way, like be labeled that way. Or if it's like, hey, if you could address me as an actor, not an actress. It's kind of like, and it's kind of just, it's a two-way street in a way. And, you know, if I'm labeled as an actress, it's whatever, but it's just, it makes me chuckle when like some people will be like, oh, cool, you're an actor. That's great. And others will be super adamant on be like, no, you're an actress. And I'm like,
because that's an Oscar category. That's why.
Right.
Yeah. Some people get really,
they get uptight.
Really,
it's like,
they do.
In the year of our Lord 2021, like,
like they're very concerned. Like, do you not know this? And you're just like, well, I'm aware. Like, do you not know this? Is the question.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The interesting opposite of that would be you're a director, not a directress. You know, it's like no one does that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's like a waiter or a waitress. Like, would you say a server or a serveress? Like a barista or a barista? Like, no, I'm a performer. I'm an artist. Yes. I'm an actor. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, it's life in front of the camera, I guess. All lights are,
exactly.
That's where the lights are. Yep. Yeah. So that is an interesting conversation because I've actually heard that really early on, like early 2000s, like when that was first, like a woman was saying that she was an actor, not an actress, you know, like she that's how she identified as an actor. So and there shouldn't be that difference. And she explained exactly how it, like what we know now, kind of was like, oh yeah, okay, that's kind of an different time, you know. So,
and I also think that like my title should not my credit, my talent, my skin in the game, if you will, like it shouldn't be quantified to a gendered label. You know, like, and for me, like I use I use she, her, and they, them pronouns. So it's very fluid for me. But at the end of the day, like my credit, my talent shouldn't have to be quantified to a label. And I think it's a very cool topic that people are starting to finally have.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of talk of how to address people in a gender neutral way and stuff like that. It's a bit of it's a sticky situation. It's a sticky conversation, but I think it's a good one to have.
Yeah. 100%.
Because uncomfortable conversations are where the coolest things come out of it. That made more sense in my head. But
no, for sure. That's where growth happens.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's how people learn. Yeah. Which is huge.
And regardless of actor, actress, whatever, we all know that actors have their own processes. Processes. So what's your favorite thing about your acting process and why?
So my acting process is a little weird because people will see will ask me, not only in like acting but also like in world building, they're like, what's your process? And I go, I don't know. And then there's like those little cartoon like question marks that like come up of their head because people don't know how to respond when you say you don't have a process. Because what I like to do is what I like to call throwing spaghetti at the proverbial wall. I do this in world building and acting. I'll take the big bowl of all of my like methods and stuff like that, and I'll just go, Hlah! And I'll throw it at the wall and I'll see what sticks. And I think my biggest process that I can explain is that I will ask a million questions to the director or the screenwriter or whoever is casting me after I'm cast and stuff like that. I will ask them a million questions about what their idea is for their character, and then I will take my own spin on it because I'm going to be the one embodying the role, so I want to be able to put my spin on it in a way that I can fully become the character. And one thing I like to do when I'm acting or world building with other people especially is I will ask them, what do you think would be X, Y, and Z? Or what do you see this character doing? Or what's their personality? What were you thinking when you wrote this so that I can figure out a way to match it that will fit your cookie cutter, but will also fit my cookie cutter so that I'm the most comfortable and that I can become the character that you came up with in your head. And then from there, I can take it and, run with it in a sense.
Yeah. Rohana, you can talk to process. Let's hear it. Let's hear it out, actors.
Yeah, no, 100%. I hear what you're saying. Really having the openness to make sure that you're taking the character in the direction that's what they, the director and screenwriter and everyone are wanting, but also still having that truth within yourself to actually be, match that. So that you're not necessarily acting, you are just being that kid, you're being that person.
Exactly.
That's where the fun really comes in. Learning who this person is, as yourself, but also from the outside perspective.
Right. I think another thing I really like to do is if I'm doing something that's based off of an already predetermined like story, is I will read up and I will read up as much as possible or
game up.
Wink wonk, wink wonk. And I want to get everything about it, especially if it's a predetermined world, i.e. Cyberpunk 2077. Wink wonk, wink wonk. I will play the game and I will immerse myself into the lore and the world and stuff like that. because character study is so fun, especially when it comes to like the physical stuff about it. I
Mhm.
love making mood boards as well. Like I'll make a Pinterest board of like world aesthetics, like character art, all of the physical stuff, so I can really understand what the world is about, so that I know walking into set, or the costume designer, that once I get that costume on, I know exactly what to do when I have this costume on. Because a person from the Midwest is going to be very different. It's going to be very different from a person who lives in a neo-futuristic dystopian world on the West Coast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, character study is just another part of my process, because I like understanding everything about the world, so that I know walking in that this is what is going to be like what would I be doing 10 minutes before like the scene would be starting. And if I just like got out of a seedy bar, I'd be like, walking a little tipsy, or I'd be, trying to take a walk to sober up before I go to X, Y, and Z. I like asking all the really dumb little questions about the world, so that I know what to expect when like 10 minutes before the camera sees my face, in a way.
Yeah. I mean, why are you doing what you're doing in the role or in that scene? You have to know where that person came from, whether it's 5 minutes before or a year before. So I think those questions aren't dumb. I think that's imperative.
Right.
I love that. So looking at sort of your acting career so far, have you progressed how you maybe expected yourself to, or expected your career to this point?
The pandemic really threw a monkey wrench in the proverbial machine.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of actors can speak to that. I think my career has progressed in a way that I didn't think it would, because I haven't been able to be on set. I've been working full time, so I haven't been able to schedule time out to go to classes and stuff like that. But instead, I've been more focusing on the writing and the creating, the physical part of it, that has excelled, in my opinion. Because if you looked at Mikayla in 2019 and said, hey, you are going to get into D&D so much that you are going to create your own worlds, and you're going to create your own magic subclasses, and you're going to create this entire like cult meets corporation that is going to be after one of your characters, and I would be like, okay, that's neat. And I would go back to like cooking for toddlers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it has definitely excelled in a way that I didn't think it would. I would like to get back into it now that, the pandemic, or the panorama, if you will, has kind of loosened up a little bit. Because I really miss it. It's something that is a big part of me that was taken away from me for the last almost 2.5 years. And I being an artist is something that's very important to me, because I can create something and I can go, here, world, I made this. And I haven't been able to do that to the best of my capabilities, because I've been enclosed in my house.
Yeah.
But it's definitely progressed in a way that I never thought it would. I never thought I would be really enjoying screenwriting. I never thought that I would enjoy creating these worlds for my friends and for people. And I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Yeah.
That's understandable. That's huge. Not knowing what can come. The fact that you found these other new passions is incredible.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too that really helped in this was being on TikTok. I never thought that I would like filmmaking and stuff like that. Like, I have a bunch of original characters that I've created. If there are any people that who are from TikTok are listening to this, they will know my characters. Zita Carmichael, she was a mafiosa OC that I created, and she is kind of one of my identifying characters as a creator, because if during 2019 there was this big mafia trend where people were creating mafia characters and these big syndicates, and we were all creating these really cool stories, and I created the Carmichael family, which was this big mafia family that was in the political world. You hear a lot of families who, it's these big mafia families who are like, drug cartels or, racketeering or money laundering. But the Carmichael family, because I didn't want to, just throw my hat into the cliche mafia trope, I wanted to do something a little different. So like Zita Carmichael and her family, they were in the political world. They would basically blackmail politicians into passing votes that would most benefit them and their interests. And in return, they would give money to these politicians to keep them in power. So like having all of these different characters and different worlds that I was able to bring to TikTok really showed me that I can act in front of a screen, but I can also build the world in around the character. Because I have another character that will be coming to the screen named Eden Hawthorne. Eden Hawthorne is a wizard who is a necrobotanist. So they are a necromancer and a botanist. And they're on the run from this group called the Melodia. And I'm basically in the works of making a series called Eden Hawthorne is Not Telling the Truth, because they were working as a necrobotanist in Melodia Incorporated, who was creating this project called Project Eden. And long story short, I don't want to give too much away, but basically Project Eden was going to be for something far worse. And, Eden had to run, and, Eden had to take on a different name because Eden Hawthorne is not their real name. Ooh. So everything about them is a lie. So therefore, Eden Hawthorne is not telling the truth.
Oh.
So bringing all of my stuff to TikTok when I wasn't able to bring it to an actual screen or bring it to an actual camera was a way that showed me that, okay, I can do more than just be in front of a screen.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
No kidding. Yeah, I love that.
That's interesting to me. Like, so how did, I'll get to my next question, but it's just this will lead into it maybe a little more. How did you end up like transferring it to TikTok? Like, how did that happen? Aside from the obvious pandemic,
right? No. So TikTok was a way that it was condensed 15 seconds or 60 seconds, and it was easy for me to be able to create. And it didn't have to be, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It could just be a 60-second video. And it was enough to keep my attention, to keep it interesting for me. But it was also a way to keep things interesting for my audience. Because with like cell phones and stuff like that, our attention spans have dropped drastically. Like if you keep it interesting, they'll stick around for that full 60 seconds, but they may not see the full 60 seconds. They'll see maybe the first 15 or the first 30 or 45. So it was a way for me to be able to keep things sweet and concise, and I could add all my little flourishes to it.
That's good. That Carmichael thing's interesting too, because obviously that was the trend. There's a lot of trends like that. Mm-hmm. Have you seen Succession yet?
Succession as in
the new show on HBO?
Oh, no, I have not.
Okay. I'm trying to get people into that because I need to talk to people about that. But anyway, I digress. I guess aside from, I guess you could include your TikTok ones too. Of the roles you've played in the past, like thinking back also, mm-hmm. like what has been your favorite, or maybe even favorite upcoming too? I don't know.
I think like in the past, I'll do past and future, but I'll do past first. Past, I can't remember the name of it because it's been like two years. It was my first like dramatic role and I'm okay with it, but I do get typecast to do the more comedic roles, which it's my bread and butter. It's fun. I'm hilarious, not to toot my own horn, but it was my first very big dramatic role.
Oh,
It was for this student film. It was basically this girl who lost her best friend and was trying to navigate the world after her best friend was lost, but the ghost of her best friend was kind of following her around, like, yo, this is depressing, you need to get up, and or like, I never left and type deal. It's like, no, you're gone, you're literally dead. And it was my first really big dramatic role, which I really enjoyed because it was a way I could tap into the angrier parts of myself, because grief is kind of a weird thing for me, at least because I don't experience grief like a normal person would. So it was a way for me to it was a way for me to channel grief in a way that I could, because a lot of people, people channel their grief differently. For me, I will just compress it and I will go through the motions, which is exactly what this character did. And then finally, she compressed it as much as she could, but then finally she just exploded, and she just completely exploded and stuff like that, and was like,
right.
and was just kind of asking for help. And the other favorite part of that role was that we got to do this really cool tub scene where I had to have I was just dissociating the whole time. And then I slid down into a full bathtub of water. And then I had to scream underwater for a shot. It was really fun. I was also sicker than a dog.
Oh.
So I told the director, I was like, this is probably the closest thing I've ever felt to waterboarding, because I couldn't plug my nose and I had to scream. So I had water in my nose and my ears and my mouth. It was really fun though, because I haven't really, at that point, I had never had a chance to do that type of thing. And it was really fun.
Yeah, that sounds like a really cool experience.
It was. It was like old clawfoot bathtubs too. So it was just the whole aesthetic. Chef's kiss.
Yeah.
What was this film called?
It was a student film for the U of M. This was I was actually in Los Angeles, and I was submitting myself for a bunch of student films. It was a bunch of Twin Cities local stuff, and I submitted myself for the U of M film class, and then I basically booked 4 or 5 different student films in a row.
Wow.
When we went to the showing and stuff like that, we were sitting there watching all of them, and then the next one would pop up and I'd be like, oh, I was in that one. And then we'd watch it, and then the next one would pop up and be like, I was also in that one too. And then the next one would pop up and be like, oh yeah, I was in that one.
Making sure that you are sticking in everyone's brain, hey, hire me, cast me.
Ironically though, the professor from that class actually contacted me in 2020 and was like, hey, it's Jim Snapko. You remember me? And at first I was like, who are you? Oh. And he was like, I have this commercial. I was like, there's this commercial that this client wants to do. Do you want to, do it? And I was like, yeah. So yeah, apparently that was me sticking out, because it paid off in the future.
That's right.
That's awesome.
It was really fun.
Yeah. That's how to make it happen right there. So I'm going to hop back. We talked earlier a little bit about your favorite actors. Tell me more about maybe not necessarily your favorite, but maybe the most influential films for you, or the most inspiring, whether it's as an actor or as a screenwriter, or both.
Ooh. So ironically, as an actor, I don't watch a lot of movies, which is weird in a sense. I like to watch more TV shows and stuff like that. But I will have to say though, it's not even a specific film. It's the franchise in itself. The Marvel Cinematic Universe was very, very influential for me as an actor, and then later as a screenwriter and a world builder and stuff like that. The Marvel movies were what made me realize that I wanted to be an actor professionally.
Yes.
Because I love superheroes. I like the sci-fi. I like high fantasy stuff. And I just adored how it looked on screen. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I sobbed. I was bawling my eyes out during Endgame. because it made me realize that like my favorite franchise is coming to like a semi, like one door of my franchise is closing. I was sobbing in the theater. I was in absolute tears. But I don't really think I have a specific like film that was super influential to me, but I think just the entirety of the Marvel Cinematic Universe was very influential for me, because it's this huge, extensive world. It's set within New York, which is great, but there's elements that you don't see in real life, which is something that I took into Eden Hawthorne Is Not Telling the Truth, because I'm actually currently writing the one shot to continue this in a D&D world. In the D&D sense, I'm writing the one shot, and I had all of my players roll me history checks, and I was able to give them lore about the universe that, yes, it's set in New York, but there's magic within New York that isn't usually within a normal setting. So having that was very influential, because I was like, I can take something that's already pre-existing and I can take it by the throat and I can shake it and make it my own.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a huge MCU fan and nerd, so I am 100% with you on that. I totally understand what you're saying. Like the way that they really built that universe and made everything just twist and tie together for years in the future that we don't even know what's going to happen, but something that's happening right now will absolutely play to 3 years from now.
Exactly.
And the way that they can build that and make that happen is fascinating and just incredible. So I 100% understand what you're saying. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and definitely world building, like you mentioned, it probably got you into that writing aspect too.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, that's kind of the old Pixar thing. They plan at least 6 years into the future, if not more, especially with like things like Avengers. But now they kind of have the full Marvel universe at their disposal now at long last. So it's kind of like, yeah, there's a lot of different things that will continue to add, but it doesn't really like close the door on that. Like you said, it closes one door kind of from the past, but then there's kind of this new thing happening. So
but the revolving door opens and there's just more.
Yeah.
So have you, on a quick nerdy tangent, have you watched any of the newer like MCU Phase 4 shows or movies?
Loki, my beloved. I actually am like, and Alan knows this, and I can send you a photo if you want. I'm actually creating a Miss Minutes dress.
That's amazing.
Literally, the vinyl is right over there. I have to just get the vinyl cut, and it'll get on the dress, and then Miss Minutes will be done. But basically, I created a human Miss Minutes cosplay.
Ooh.
Basically, it's how I would view Miss Minutes if she was human and not a literal floating cartoon clock. And I've seen Loki. I'm obsessed. I have a lot of feelings about it.
Understandable.
I've seen What If, but that is about it so far. I just haven't had a chance to catch up.
Yeah. So have you been able to check out, I would assume, no, but like Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, any of those?
Not yet. I want to go see Eternals though. A lot of my friends have seen it and they're like obsessed with it. And I was like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
But they're on my watch list. That's for sure.
Okay. Yeah. You will love them. I would put Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings probably up there with like Black Panther for me.
Okay.
Like I expected to like it. I did not expect to love it as much as I did. Amazing. And then Eternals was as incredible as you think it's going to be. So yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Well, my opinion is, definitely Shang-Chi. Eternals, it's okay, but it's a lot of change all at once, and I'm just kind of like, they just kind of like glossed over, like, I don't know. Anyways.
But maybe they didn't gloss over it. Maybe they just kind of like fast forwarded, and then they're going to gradually bring it back because that's what they do, and they know what they're doing.
But the thing is, though, the one thing I do have a problem with that is that if you fast forward, because sometimes people will start watching a series like halfway through.
Yeah.
So the biggest problem I have is as a writer and a screenwriter is that if you fast forward through all of those things at once and then you start progressively reeling back and showing like in a backwards progression of how everything went, the plot can get lost at times.
Mm-hmm.
And some people may like that, but a lot of people are like, how does this tie in together? And some people could say that maybe not super great writing. Even though in a business sense, it forces you to give Marvel all of their money, of your money. Which I could see wisely. That, but at the same way, I was like, that may not be the best idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like Star Wars kind of did that similarly with like Rogue One.
Yeah.
Like I love Rogue One, but a lot of people were like, after The Force Awakens was that supposed to be the next one? Or, it's like normal people don't really invest that much into it.
Yeah. Like Star Wars was another fandom for me. Like I was watching Star Wars was my first fandom at 9 years old. My dad had all the movies recorded on Comcast and I would watch those over and over and over. I went to the Star Wars exhibit when it came here in Minnesota back in God knows how long. Like 9-year-old me, pigtails, doing the green screen, like having it's like my head, the body of the body of Padme. Like that was my whole thing. And I have to agree. I've been watching Star Wars since I was a kid, and I couldn't figure out where this was placed in the universe until the very end. And I didn't like that because I was like, where does this add up? Is this during like Mandalorian? Is this in the prequels, the sequels, the originals? Like, where does this go? And then once you see the end, you're like, oh, this is before movie 4.
Yeah.
Well, why did they just say that? I don't want to think. I just want to watch a movie.
Well, then you can watch it again. I think that's the point. They want you to like, okay, well, you have to fit it in here, and then Solo goes over there, and then Mandalorian comes over here after that, before this.
And then all of like
so good.
All of the canon stuff is now like not canon because Disney bought it. Like, there's just so much they could have used.
Oh, well, that was good. I like nerding out. So
oh yeah.
I guess now moving forward, is there something you really want to do more than ever that you haven't?
I like, especially with Eden Hawthorne is not telling the truth specifically. I want to play around with like special effects, not only like actual real life prosthetic special effects and stuff like that, and like the makeup side, but also the post special effects, because I want to play around with the magics. I want to play around with the high fantasy. I want to play around with I just want to play around with magic, because in the world of New York, in a time of magic users versus the mundane, like Eden was creating this type of magic that was revolutionary. Like there's a scene that I have written down where she's building, she's building the magic for Project Eden, and it's a mix of blood magic and druidic magic or natural magic. And there's a scene that I really want to do that would, it'd be so cool. But she's super frustrated because there's all of these things that are happening besides trying to build Project Eden that has her super frustrated, and she's angry and she's trying to figure out what she's going to do. And she's trying to figure out this one aspect of this rune, this sigil that would be a part of this casting process. And then finally she's so frustrated while she's talking to her love interest, she's so frustrated that she reels back, punches that, those like glass whiteboards that you see in a lot of like the crime and the sci-fi type shows, those like glass whiteboards. She reels up and punches the whiteboard, and the whiteboard the whiteboard spider cracks, and there's a little bit of blood, but there's a little bit of a vine that is growing out of the sigil. And so I want to play around with the special effects and making it look cool.
Yeah.
And I can't do all of that in physical form, because there's just no way you're going to be able to create that physically. But learning how to do it post production is something I want to learn, because I feel that not only my acting could be so much more, but also the visual side of this story could be just bumped up 10 notches.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be really cool. And I feel like that's becoming so much more prevalent in film today overall. So, gaining those skills could be astronomical too.
Sounds like visual effects is what you want to head into. So
yeah,
which means like Adobe After Effects is really the major one in that. So
here's the thing though, Adobe After Effects is extremely expensive and I'm poor.
Yeah.
The tricky part.
Like I have Photoshop, and I was kind of like side-eyeing Adobe After Effects because I want to play around with it, but I was just like, I don't have 300 to how many ever dollars to spend on you.
Look at like maybe the Black Friday deals. I don't know.
Honestly, yeah, that I may look into that.
Yeah.
No kidding. So it kind of sounds like Eden might be the answer to this, but in case it's not, what is actually next for you?
I think it may be the various worlds I'm building, because I want to bring Eden and their story to the screen, because when I was creating Eden is a part of me. Like they're my original character. They're a non-binary, magic user. But in a way, I don't want them to be a specifically non-binary magic user. I want them to be this very powerful magic user who also happens to be, non-binary.
Right.
And that's what I'm kind of looking forward to, because I do have a TikTok mutual who has agreed to play the role of the mentor who in the beginning doesn't want to be the mentor and is kind of stuck with them. But then as time progresses, they kind of have this rapport and they actually are very fond of each other. And I have a mutual who has agreed to do that. And hopefully if, the idea of capitalism releases me from its chokehold, I would be able to actually film stuff with him and get something on the screen, because I think it would be a really fun thing to do. So I think that's kind of next. I want to take it to TikTok to see how it would go, and then possibly bring it to the screen.
Absolutely. Good test market.
Yeah.
Well, with that in mind, where can people find your work or contact you? Like, what
Radical
is your
Slinky on all social medias that I want you to find.
Perfect.
So my TikTok is Radical Slinky. My Instagram, I have two Instagrams. My acting Instagram specifically is Mick Bode Official. It's MIKBODE Official, all one handle. And then my personal, that is more connected to TikTok, is also Radical Slinky. I have a Facebook page. It is a little under construction right now. I don't really use it all that often because I usually stick to Instagram. But that is also Mick Bode Official. And that's where you can contact me the easiest.
Awesome.
Cool.
So the big question, Mikayla, what do you want people to remember most about you?
Oh boy, everything I ask myself daily. Quite honestly, I think I want people to remember me by not only my craft, but me as a person. Because at the end of the day, that's what people are like. People are going to remember me for who I was off. I want people to remember me for who I was off screen. Like, yes, I have these incredible pieces that I'm leaving behind as my legacy, but I want people to know that I am I was a cool person. I was a good person at the end of the day. And that my character, my individuality is within my art pieces. Like my soul is still within these things I have left behind.
Love that. Mikayla, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us today and just letting us ask you a million questions.
That is okay. I love asking getting asked a million questions.
That's right.
I do it all the time.
It was awesome getting to know you better, getting to meet you on my part. I know you and Alan know each other, but
it was awesome meeting you as well. You guys have been very fun.
And until next time, thank you to our listeners for joining. And this has been Film in Minnesota.